Now, I love the Fast and Furious franchise, and I attribute the first film as part of the catalyst for my lifelong automotive obsession. However, if you're really geeky about your cars, the film can be a little tough to watch due to some pretty gaping factual errors. So here's 8 mistakes in the Fast and the Furious only car geeks would notice, and a couple others just for fun. Mistake number 1. Apparently, when your car tops out at 140 miles an hour, it launches itself into an uncontrollable spin for no reason. Thank goodness this is a mistake, as otherwise I imagine the Bugatti Veyron would have claimed several lives when testing its 260 mile an hour top speed. In fact, when a car tops out, it's pretty uneventful. If the car tops out due to aerodynamic drag, it will simply hover at the same speed, because it hasn't got the power to push through the amount of air that it's hitting. If the car tops out due to reaching the end of its gearing, it will simply stop at the end of the red line of its final gear. And of course, if the car is electronically limited, once you reach the manufacturer's predetermined speed limit, the car will reduce the amount of fuel and air sent to the engine, thus topping itself out. 3 different possibilities, none of which result in a 900-degree Tony Hawk style death spin. Most likely the spin was included because spins look way cooler than calmly slowing to a controlled stop. Mistake number 2.
See a cool air intake, it's got a nice fogger system and a T4 turbo Dominic.
So here the racers are trying to decide whether Brian's car is worth enough to let him race. Jesse takes a look under the hood of the Eclipse and he states that the car has a cool air intake, which is fine, a NOS fogger system, okay, sure, and a T4 turbo. Lies. In fact, that car has no turbo at all. Rather than having the 210 horsepower Eclipse GST or GSX engine that's turbocharged and could have a T4 turbo added, Brian's Eclipse has the naturally aspirated engine of the base model, which produces just 140 horsepower. You can tell this because A, the air intake pipe is on the driver's side of the engine, rather than on the passengers, and also because the engine's rocker cover is clearly the same as the naturally aspirated one, which is totally different to the turbocharged engine rocker cover.
Dude, I almost had you.
You actually did, Brian. You were just one correct engine away from having him. Mistake number 3. A classic and widely laughed at moment in the film is when Brian's computer starts flashing a warning that there is danger to manifold. But the danger to manifold message is actually feasible. Whilst there are more likely parts of the car's powertrain to fail, it is possible to crack a weld on either the intake or exhaust manifolds due to super high stress. So Dom was right to say,
"You're lucky that 100 shot of NOS didn't blow the welds on the intake."
What doesn't make any sense though, is why on earth the floor of the car then unbolted itself and flew off into the road. There's no logical explanation for this whatsoever. Fortunately, it didn't fly up into Edwin's windscreen. Oh, and a second thing here, the second generation Mitsubishi Eclipse is a unibody design, meaning the frame and the body are built as a single piece, so it doesn't even have floor pans. Number 4 is possibly the most obvious mistake.
Granny shifting, not double clutching like you should.
Granny shifting, not double clutching like you should. Wrong. So wrong. Granny shifting, as mocked by Toretto, is basically normal manual car shifting. Foot off accelerator, clutch in, gear out and into next gear, clutch out, foot back on accelerator. Perfectly reasonable. According to Dom, however, the better solution is foot off accelerator, clutch in, put the car into neutral, clutch off, foot pumps the accelerator for a moment to build revs, then clutch back in, car into gear, clutch out, and back on the accelerator. This is known as double clutching, and Toretto's right, it is the better solution when changing down gears, such as for a corner. For changing up gears, however, it's not just useless, It's actually worse than regular granny shifting because you're spending more time shifting and less time accelerating. What Dom probably meant to say was power shifting, which doesn't entail the driver taking their foot off the accelerator at all. Instead, they keep their right foot firmly planted and simply depress the clutch, change gear and release the clutch pedal. This keeps the revs super high while also being a very quick shift, although it's not particularly healthy for your car, so I wouldn't recommend it. Here's a little bonus mistake that doesn't take an automotive detective to notice. There's a ramp in the middle of the road for Brian to jump over. Why? I simply presume why not. Mistake numbers 5 and 6 both come from the same sentence.
And Hector is gonna be running 3 Honda Civics with spoon engines. And he ordered 3 T66 turbos with NOS and a Motec system exhaust.
Honda Civics and spoon engines are a lovely combination, but adding a T66 turbo to that is a terrible idea. So bad in fact it can definitely be considered a factual mistake. You see, Spoon make 2 engines for the 6th generation Honda Civic, a 1.6 litre and a 1.8 litre, so both fairly small, and the T66 turbo is a bloody enormous turbo. It's the kind of turbo people use to turn their Supras and Skyline GTRs into 650 horsepower monsters. But the Nissan Skyline GTR and the Toyota Supra have big 2.6 to 3 litre engines to spool up the turbo. A 1.6 or 1.8 litre engine would take way too long to spool up a huge turbo like the T66, to the point where it would actually be no use at all for quarter-mile drag racing. And the 6th mistake?
Thinking you're in America.
Nope, that wasn't it. Not even the same film. It was...
And a Motec system exhaust.
Motec System Exhaust. Motec are a company that specialise in engine control units and management electronics. They don't even make exhaust systems. It's possible that the writers meant Miltech, a company that have been making performance exhaust systems for over 35 years. But Brian clearly says,
Motec system exhaust.
I'll put this one down to the fact that he just woke up though. Here's another bonus one that has nothing to do with cars but has annoyed me for years, so I want it to annoy you too. Listen to Mia as she walks out of the house for the barbecue.
Mia, the chicken's dry.
Hear it? Listen again.
The chicken's dry.
Her voice is laid over itself about 4 times. What, according to the script, should have been a clear, "Alright, I'm coming out already," is instead a "Alright, I'm coming out already." I don't know why or how this even happened, but it bugs me every time I watch the film. Mistake number 7 is a quickie.
This fool is running a Honda 2000.
It's S2000. No one calls them 2000. So annoying. Anyway, finally, here's mistake number 8. Any takers? It's all about traction. When Dom pulls off the line, his car creates a sizable wheelie, which is fine. What isn't fine, however, is that his rear wheels are also spinning. Drag cars are famously wheelie prone, and whilst of course the tons of power they produce is a considerable factor towards the 2-wheel mayhem, the primary reason behind the wheelies are their ultra sticky tyres, providing instant traction and allowing them to get their torque on the tarmac. And simply put, it's because of this traction that the car is sent into a wheelie. But Toretto's tyres are also spinning like crazy, which, as all proficient drivers know, means a lack of traction. And looking at the amount of wheel spin and tyre smoke being created, I think it's fair to say that a wheelie wouldn't have been possible at this point. So that was 8 mistakes in the Fast and the Furious only car geeks would notice. I hope you enjoyed it and let me know if you spotted any other car related mistakes in the film. Thanks.